What's up, y'all? Alvin here, and this is question and answer episode 6.
I tell the good jokes.
All right. Once again, I want to thank everybody for going to the trouble of asking me these questions. I'm still amazed how many there are. I see a few repeated ones from last week. And like I said, if I didn't answer it last week, ask me again and maybe I'll answer it. So there's a couple that I'm going to answer that I didn't answer last week. Also, like I said, if you follow me on Twitter and ask me a question, I'm more likely to answer those because there's a lot less of them. So let's just go ahead and get started with these Twitter questions. Okay, so King wants to know, how do you build your bass/redfish leaders? I have become lazy and pretty content with half 20-pound test, then OX or 1X, maybe into a 1/3 sections by adding some 3X and throwing lighter flies. But always wondering if I am cheating myself out of a better turnover. I don't think so. That sounds real similar to a lot of the leaders I tie. If I'm going to tie a leader for redfish, it's probably 3 sections. Now I may start a little heavier, between 40 and 60 pound test, and taper it down to 30 or 40 and then 20 pound for a leader. Occasionally I might go down as light as like maybe 16 pound test, but that's usually about it. And I think those turn the flies over just fine. If you're having a trouble turning over flies, bigger flies, then maybe just start off with a little bit heavier butt section. But typically a shorter, heavier leader is going to make it easier to turn your flies over anyway. I do still use pre-tapered leaders quite a bit. If I have them, I'll use them. But after changing flies a few times, they get hacked up, and I always have extra tippet spools to rebuild them. So I don't think you're missing anything by using pre-tied leaders. I do it quite a bit myself. Thanks for the question. David wants to know, can you show us how you get those awesome overhead camera shots? Also, can you tell us some of your favorite non-fishing YouTube channels that you are a fan of or get inspiration from? Okay, so the overhead shot, I have my old A6500 on a C-stand. I'll try to throw a little B-roll in there so you can see what it looks like. And then I have an external HDMI monitor attached to that. Occasionally when I'm doing my fly tying videos, you'll see me looking up to one side, and that's because I'm looking up to check my monitor, which is right there. Anyway, thanks for that question. And yes, I do have lots of non-fly fishing YouTube channels I watch. Definitely more non-fly fishing channels than fly fishing channels, actually. So, of course, Casey Neistat. If you are not following Casey Neistat, you should. He kind of invented a whole genre of YouTubing, the vlog. Also, Peter McKinnon, another, everybody follows Peter McKinnon. If not, you should. Matty Hapoya, another Canadian guy. Peter McKinnon's Canadian. There's tons of Canadian YouTubers. I don't know why so many, but there's a lot of Canadian YouTubers. I have a guy from Sweden that I follow. His name's Peter Lindgren, another vlogger, tech guy, and somebody I just started following recently that I like a lot. He's a sort of a van life guy, but not really. He's more of a maker. This guy's name is Levi Allen. He's a welder. He's a builder. He's a really creative, interesting guy, and he makes some cool videos of some great projects. But there's so many different channels that pop up on my feed on any given day. So I watch a lot of different YouTube channels. And like I said, the vast majority of them have nothing to do with fly fishing. Thanks for that question. So Bob Layton wants to know, he says, first, I need to book a trip with you. And yeah, just send me an email. Second, what is your go-to jam after a successful day on the water? Old school Bad Mother Goose, or perhaps dumpster funk? Dig it? Man, I don't remember the last time I listened to any Bad Mother Goose. You know, a lot of times on the way home, I drive in silence, or I'll listen to the news. On the way to the water in the morning, I usually talk to my wife on the phone, and then silence. Don't listen to the news, don't listen to music. I just kind of try to get my head together and think about the day we're going to have on the water. But afterwards, you know, it could be anything. I may listen to the news, catch up a little bit. I may listen to some gangster rap. I may listen to some grunge. I may listen to some metal. I may listen to some old school funk. Anything goes. Thanks for the question. I'm going to make an attempt at answering some of these Instagram questions. Like I said, there's a ton of them. I don't want the video to be 30 minutes long, so I won't be able to get to all of them. If I don't answer your question, ask me again next week. Looks like we'll be doing episode 7. Anyway, here goes. BRXXXCK wants to know, does tying your own leader or flies save you money? I think you can save money tying your own leaders for sure. Tying your own flies, I don't know. By the time you buy all the tools and the materials to tie your flies, that's a pretty good investment. I don't know about saving money on tying flies. Now, flies have gotten fairly expensive. So once you get all the equipment, all the materials, then yeah, you will save money. I have a vise that I've had for 20 years. So over those 20 years, I've tied a ton of flies. So I've definitely saved money. But initially going into it, it's a little bit of an investment. Thanks for the question. Jake E. Ward S. wants to know, what's your favorite sports team? And the honest truth is, I don't have one. I don't remember the last time I sat down and watched any sport on TV, even fly fishing. I'm usually out on the water. If I'm not on the water, I got something else I need to do. So my sports knowledge is almost zero. But thanks for that question. Surfer Paulo wants to know, music on the boat when fishing or just sounds of nature? Now, I personally don't play music on the boat, but if I have clients or friends that want to play music on the boat, as long as it's not too loud, there's not a lot of bass. That's one of those old wives' tales, old fishermen's tales, that talking will spook the fish. Sound waves typically bounce off the water, so talking, having a conversation is not going to spook the fish, and I'm assuming having music playing at a normal volume won't spook the fish either. Now, any type of vibrations, so like splashing, dropping something on the deck of the boat, stomping around on the deck of the boat will definitely spook fish. So I'm assuming if you got a lot of bass thumping and it's bumping the boat, then that's probably going to spook fish. So at that point, you're probably partying and not really fishing anyway. So I guess it won't matter. But, you know, me personally, I just go with the sounds of nature or some crazy conversation. Anyway, thanks for the question. That's a good one. Okay, so Joel A. Henderson wants to know, how do you organize/deal with different line types and fly reels? Like, I have 3 reels with various 7-weight lines for sink tip, floating, tropical, etc. Is buying extra spools the best way for you, or having 3 different 7-weight rod reel setups more convenient when on a boat? Now, when I'm guiding, I'll have multiple rods and reels. So, usually I'll have 2 clients, so I'll have 2 rods rigged up with floating lines, 2 rods rigged up with sinking lines if we're doing floating and sinking, or 2 6s and 2 8s. But if I go fishing, say I hop on a boat with a buddy, I usually try to take as little gear as possible. So I'll take one rod and two reels. I do like having the whole reel instead of the spool. It's a little bit easier just to swap the reel out than it is to take the spool off and, go through all that. But that may be just me. Some people feel like it's no issue to swap a spool out real quick and then you don't have to take the reel off the rod. I typically will buy multiple reels, inexpensive reels. I don't buy like 10 expensive reels just for one rod. Whatever seems to work best for you. But yeah, definitely I don't have a different rod for each line if I'm gonna hop on somebody else's boat. On my boat, I put as many rods as I can get on there. Thanks for the question. Sam's Page wants to know, what's your preferred line when chasing bass? So I'm assuming you mean floating, sinking, whatever. And I'm going to say a floating line because I would prefer to catch them on poppers on top. So floating line, depending on the time of year, I may only have a floating line, weight forward floating, or some type of bass taper floating line. Typically spring, late fall, definitely winter, I'll have some type of sinking line as well. Usually a sink tip, not a full sinker. Thanks for the question. The Patrick Schaefer wants to know, best rod setup for redfish. 8-weight floating line. If I could only have one, that'd be it. And that's for Texas. Now, if I was fishing in Louisiana, maybe a 9-weight because they got bigger redfish there. Non-fishing question. I like the non-fishing questions. Austin, Texas Starkey wants to know, what was your favorite Bad Mother Goose song to perform live? It's kind of a tough one. I mean, we would typically play for an hour plus, sometimes pushing 2 hours. But I'm going to say my favorite was one that we finished up with a lot. It was our most rowdy song we had, and it was called Rev It Up. It's kind of an inappropriate subject for nowadays, but back then, it was all in good fun. Anyway, yeah, Rev It Up. We usually finish off the set with that. That was kind of like the bring down the house tune. Bring down the house and wreck everything at the same time. Anyway, thanks for the question. So Chrissy Meck, I hope I'm saying that right, wants to know, what was the last book you read that was fishing related? And what was the last book you read that was not fishing related? I really can't remember the last fishing related book I read. It might have been way back, the John Girac collection, some of those Trout Bum or some of those, or the River Y or something like that. I read a lot of fishing related books a while ago, but nothing recently. Currently, I am reading a book called Into the Abyss about a small plane crash in northern Canada, where there were only 3 survivors out of 9 or 10, and they had to make it through a brutally cold night in northern Canada during the winter. So far, so good. Thanks for the question. All right, I'm going to answer some Facebook questions. First one is from Benjamin Schwartz. What's up, Benjamin? He wants to know, why do you want to clean off your desk? So if you saw my original post, I said, ask me some questions so I don't have to clean off my desk. And I really didn't want to clean off my desk. I never really want to clean off my desk, but my wife Lene's desk is right next to my desk, and the clutter just drives her crazy. So I got to keep my desk as clean as possible. And actually, it does help me focus, and I work better with a clean desk. So that's why I had to clean that desk off. Thanks for the question. Mark Owens wants to know, what is my biggest redfish on the fly? And I'm going to say maybe 35, 36 inches. It was caught in Louisiana, of course. I've caught a couple slightly over 30 inches on the flats in Texas, but I've never really gone after bull reds in Texas. I've only done that in Louisiana. But who knows? Maybe I'll get a bigger one this year. Thanks for the question. Oh, Mark also wants to know, do I ever fish Sam Rayburn? I never have. Eric Schmidt wants to know, tied tapered leaders versus extruded tapered leaders. I really don't have a preference. If I have a pre-tapered leader, I'll use that. If I don't, I'll tie them. I don't really see any huge advantage to either one. I just use whatever's handy. Thanks for the question. Last one. And this one comes from Randall Julie Mercado. Got to put that whole name in there. And the question is, if you could spend the day on the water with any musician, past or present, who would it be? And I saw this question much earlier, and I was trying to think, like, who would it be? I couldn't think of anybody other than Jimi Hendrix. And I'm not like a huge Hendrix fan. I mean, you know, I know most of the Hendrix tunes and I've listened to them quite a bit, but it's not like something that immediately pops to mind when I say, what am I gonna listen to? But yeah, for whatever reason, I would like to spend the day fishing with Jimi Hendrix. I think that would be pretty interesting. All right. That's it for this week. I want to thank everybody for asking questions. Like I said, if I didn't answer your question, just try again next week. I'm going to try to keep this thing rolling. Thanks for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you know, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you watched it this far, you might as well, right? I hope everybody is having a great year so far. It's only been a couple of days, so how much could go wrong in a few days, right? I'll see y'all in the next one. And in the meantime, good luck on the water.